What's up, YouTube? Brian here. So I've been kind of putting this off because it's not my normal kind of video, and just now I figured, well, I had a quiet moment. If I don't get around to it now, I will never get around to it. So this is off the cuff, which is not what I had planned to do. I had planned to prepare notes, so I might ramble a little bit, but I'll try to keep this as short as possible. This video is going to be about mistakes I made in setting up this tank to breed for profit. Let's start at the very beginning. When I first got this tank, I bought it at one of the big chain pet stores. I forget which one. It doesn't really matter. They're all basically the same for this purpose anyway. And this is a 37-gallon tank. It came with a heater, the hang-on back filter, and I don't know, probably another couple little things that I'm not remembering right now. And I think I paid $100 for it. Let's just say I paid $100 for it. That's my first mistake. I should have gone on Craigslist or something similar to that and found a used tank for half the price, less than half the price, as cheap as possible really, because this is not a display tank. It doesn't need to be new. It's supposed to be a working tank, and I should have got a tank as cheaply as possible. So that was my first mistake. Second mistake was I kind of overdid this for what it needed to be. I probably don't even need this hang-on back up there. Like I said, it came with the tank, but still, I don't really think it's necessary with the two sponge filters and the plants. These lights are probably a little overkill. I guess the plants need them because we are down in a basement, but that added quite a bit of cost, like building these chain fittings and all this stuff. Because that's what I would have done in China where it was dirt cheap, but here it ended up costing me a fair bit of money. I could have got away with just a cheap like shop light or something on top, you know, whatever I could find that was super cheap. So I kind of spent too much on the outfittings. Like, this is Eco Complete, which is expensive substrate. I could have just gone bare bottom. I could go on and on. The point is, I should have gone with cheaper stuff instead of just buying normal grade stuff or good branded stuff for the purpose of this tank. Because this Eco Complete, for example, is not growing plants. If I was growing plants in it, it would have been worth the investment. Now it's just essentially just expensive black substrate. Anyway, moving on. Mistake number 3 was the fish that I bought to start with. I bought super expensive imported strain black metal lace from Guppy Train out in California. Paid a lot of money for them. The fish were okay, I suppose. The males looked pretty good. The females were quite disappointing, and just the genetics overall were disappointing. They're throwing bent spines and they mature very slowly. I should have been more patient, shopped around, and waited for some deal like this where I got 8 of these German tuxedo guppies, or half black pastels, or whatever you want to call them. Great genetics for like $30. And you don't see those all the time, but if I had been patient, I would have come across something, or even just shopped around more. But I was too rearing to go, so I just said, oh, these are going to be good, because I'd seen other strains from Guppy Train on YouTube channels. I don't want to knock him completely. Like, some of his strains are really good. It's just I'm not really pleased with black metal lace, or at least the ones that I got. So take that as you will. Anyway, that was my third mistake. So first mistake, spent too much on the tank. Should have got a used tank for cheap or free. Second mistake, spent too much on the fittings. Should have just gone with the cheapo light. I'm not growing plants in here. I could have put it somewhere near the sun or whatever. For your purposes, let's assume In my case, I actually could only put it here because of my living arrangement right now. But in your case, we'll just assume that you could put it, wherever you want, and it would be able to get adequate light for the plants, because pothos doesn't need that much light if you're going to do the same setup. Third mistake, bought too expensive of guppies. Should have started out with a cheaper strain, built my way up to an expensive strain if I felt like it down the line. Instead, I went for the big boom right away, and then that brings me to mistake number 4. I wanted snails in my tank, so I bought some from eBay. I didn't quarantine them, put them in the tank. They were carrying hemorrhagic septicemia, which I had never heard of, and is not cured by your normal medicines that most people use, like general cure, erythromycin, XX, and whatever, that kind of normal stuff. You need a special kind of antibiotic called triple sulfa, which, or at least the one I use, is called triple sulfa from API, and that ended up curing it. But before I discovered that, I spent a ton of money medicating this nearly 40-gallon tank for like a week and a half or 2 weeks straight, as these fish are slowly dying off and nothing I'm doing is saving them. So I spent a ton of money on powdered general cure in little packets, and it did nothing. So back to the original sin, the mistake number 4 was not quarantining the snails and not knowing about gram-positive and gram-negative antibiotics and treating with both. In the future, if I'm going to add anything to a breeding tank with expensive stock in it, I'm going to quarantine it first, hit it with general cure, hit it with triple sulfa, and hit it with ACX, all in a small little 10-gallon tank where I can treat it cheaply and not waste a bunch of money on medicine. So that was my 4th mistake, was not quarantining the snails. That cost me most of my original stock. The only ones still left alive are 2 babies of the original guppies, who are now subadults. There's 1 male and 1 female. They are in this tank right now somewhere, but they're hard to see because they're small and they have black tails, so they don't stand out like the pastels. The male is just starting to show some of the silver lace on his tail. It's extremely hard to even see off camera, so I'm not sure you'd even be able to see it on camera, and I'm not really trying to zoom in or anything in this video, so if you see him swim by, I'll point him, or if I see him swim by, I'll point him out. But right now I don't see him. He must be hiding. The female hides a lot because otherwise she gets harassed by the males. So those 4 mistakes really ended up tanking any chance this tank has of being profitable for a long time down the road, because mainly the cost of medication and the original stock was so high, and then they all ended up getting lost. So I was hoping originally to have fry for sale, or not fry, have guppies for sale by September 2018. It's now December 2018, and I have a tank with 7 mature males, 1 subadult male, 1 subadult female, and like 12 plus minus fry that are less than 2 weeks old. Yeah, that's right. Not very good. So the disease wiped me out, fish-wise. Trying to treat the disease without properly identifying it wiped me out money-wise, on top of the original price of the fish, their low productivity. Although I can't knock the fact that the one, when she finally did give birth just now, the one who produced these fry you see swimming around, she did have like 14 babies when she finally gave birth, but it killed her, so I don't know. Take that as you will. those four things are really what my big mistakes were. If I had got a tank off Craigslist for like $10 or something, you can find deals like that. It may not be easy, but if you're a little bit patient and you just look and you check often, and as soon as you see something, you jump on it, you're gonna find a good deal eventually. And really, all you need is one tank to get started. So, sorry. Well, I'm still thinking about mistakes. Mistake number 5: I didn't put enough Easter grass in at the beginning, or otherwise cover. All I had was these roots, which was not enough, and all my fry that I had before a while back all ended up getting eaten while I was gone on a trip, I believe, because they didn't have enough cover to hide in, and the fish got hungry enough to hunt them down and eat them. At least in retrospect, I'm assuming that's what happened. But anyway, I should have had more cover in here from the beginning. So, let's just call it 5 big mistakes. Number 1, not buying a used tank. Could have saved a ton of money. Number 2, not buying cheaper fish. There's great strains out there for way less money than what I paid. Again, if you're patient, you shop around, do your research, don't be impulsive like me. You can do better than I did. 3, fit your tank as cheaply as possible to get done what you need done. Guppies just need a couple sponge filters. Could have run a bare bottom tank. Probably would have even been easier to keep clean. Still could have done the pothos, whatever. 4, whenever you introduce new livestock, quarantine it. If you don't, it can cost you a lot of money in medicine and dead fish. 5, make sure there's plenty of cover for your fry. Otherwise, you risk losing most or all of what fry you do get in the tank, which is counterproductive to your whole purpose. So, those were my 5 big mistakes that I made when setting up this tank to breed for profit. Hopefully you guys can learn from what I did wrong if you're trying to breed guppies for profit, and you can do better than I'm doing so far. That being said, hopefully in the future I can turn this around and we will eventually make money off this tank, is my hope. I have sold some snails out of it one time, and then right when the weather got really, really bad and the holidays came, I got another order for snails, and I ended up canceling it because I wasn't equipped to ship with the heat pack and the proper installation and everything, and I was busy with the holidays, and in the end it would have only made me a few dollars to sell the snails, and it wasn't worth my time / the hassle of going out getting the stuff I would need to properly package the snails and ensure their arrival and all that. So I had to cancel the order. I feel kind of bad, but once the weather warms back up, I'll be selling snails again, and hopefully by then I will have guppies for sale as well. I mean, look at these males, how beautiful they are. This whole time I've been talking, they're just swimming around, flashing those gorgeous tails. Even the ones who are damaged are healing up nicely. Anyway, this video's gone on long enough. That's really all the points I wanted to make. Those were my 5 big mistakes. That's the update on the tank. Oh, one more thing. I did lose the one male. I had 8, now there's 7, because the one who was damaged, I pointed out in the last video, he ended up passing. Fry, I think, are doing fine. They're growing quickly. I knocked the temperature up a little bit as well because I realized I had misread my thermometer and I had it down lower than I thought originally. So it's where I want it to be now, which is right around 74, 75 degrees. Not super hot, but not cool either. As you can see, the fish are doing really well, other than the one guy who died, but these guys have matured beautifully, and they're looking great. So hopefully their offspring will do the same. Alright, that's all for now. If you guys enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.